the hope is that all we're trying to do is actually, in terms of our movement, is just bring people together that have been touched by suicide, but giving them a sense that, hey, you're not alone in this, but in the sense that we can actually, and we say all the time, we're stronger together, you know, we can be strong through it. The numbers are disappointing, but at the same time, it doesn't discourage us from still bringing hope to families and also encouraging them to empower their communities, their families, their colleagues at work, and so forth.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Please Blow My Mind with me, Will Fleming. I want to thank you all for being here today. I want to also preface and prepare you that we're talking about hard stuff in this podcast. We're talking about suicide, and for many, that's not a topic of conversation. That's not really something we like talking about and even know how to talk about in our world today. In New Zealand, the statistics are the worst they've ever been, and you have to ask yourself, where do you find hope when so many people seem to not have hope? For me, it's in this podcast. It's talking to people. It's trying to articulate my journey of belief, meaning, hope, understanding, fear. And my guest today, Joseph Fa'afiu, he is someone who I believe is working hard to understand hope. He is the founding member of HopeWalk New Zealand, and it's not an event, he said. It's a movement. It's a catch up with people who have been affected by suicide, and they walk together, cry together, smile together, be together. And I caught up with him on the morning of his Hope Walk 2019. We had a quick podcast. It brings a smile to my face because normally we podcast in the back of the mobile van, but we were short on time, so I set up the front rig, Studio B, and we cranked out a quick podcast before his morning started. His first briefing is at 7:30, so I met him at 7 or a little bit after. We have a coffee, we have a chat, we talk about hope, and it's something that I hope all of these podcasts hint at, is hope that we should have, because I definitely think we should have hope. Even if it's talking about the dark stuff all the time, I know that hope for me is that tomorrow, is the constantly getting up and going. I've been trying to articulate this idea of, carrying a burden, and I think it's incredibly difficult to fathom what carrying a burden is, but I think we do it every day. I think if I think about this idea of carrying something really heavy up a huge hill, and why you should do that. I think I heard Jordan Peterson talk about, this idea of transcendence and what happens when you carry that huge burden up that hill and you make it one day. What is on the other side of that? And I've been thinking about what is on the other side of that, overcoming a burden, overcoming these obstacles. And I think it's tomorrow. I think that's it. I think you carry a burden every day so that you can wake up tomorrow and carry another one. And, that sounds a bit scary and ironically meaningless, but I hope you also find meaning in that, because it's hard. Carrying that burden is hard. We all know it. Everyone carries a burden. Maybe it's from the past or coming in the future, but we all have to share this burden, and I don't know, man, it's just something that I reckon we should talk about, I reckon we should acknowledge, and I reckon we should almost invite the burden in our life. Because here's a bit of a deeper thought on that. When you and sorry if this kind of maybe freaks some people out, but this is just how my mind works. It thinks about things, and I've started thinking about the grey area, which in this world of hard drawn lines, you can't think about anything grey anymore, and I want to, because I think that's part of our humanity. I think that's our soul, is thinking about the grey zone. And I've been thinking about this idea of burden and carrying it to the top of these things and overcoming it and transcendence. And what is that? And I think of ourselves maybe like a battery, like a recharging battery. Sleep recharges us. And I had this idea that at the end of the burden, at the end of life, that when you die, hopefully old, you send that battery's energy, your body, your soul, whatever it is, out. And it fuels things. It fuels the next thing. And this kind of sad and scary thought I had is maybe people who die by suicide, their battery's not full. So when they die, they send out not a full charge. And that means the rest of life, the future, the past, the present, doesn't have as much to power it. But I don't know, man. I've gotten a bit wild there. So I hope you kind of know the essence of what I mean. I don't quite know what I mean all the time, but that's the deal with the podcast, is I talk about it and we work it out and we think about it and we reflect and we do it every week. And so, yeah, let's jump into the chat with Joseph, talk about HopeWalk, talk about where he finds hope. And I hope you are feeling hopeful, because really, that's our superpower. That's what every movie teaches us. And Superman. Why am I bringing up Superman? In Superman, is it 2? Superman loses all his power and he becomes a mere mortal like us. And he has to have hope. He has to have hope that there's a path for him. And there is in every movie. Even Avengers, same story. No hope. There's no hope. But there always is. There's always light. So, Marlon Brando, Superman's dad. Okay, I've gone way over time here, but anyway. Marlon Brando, Superman's dad, says to his son, Kal-El, when he sends him to Earth, they can be a great people, Kal-El, if they wish to be.
They only lack the light to show the way. For this reason, above all, their capacity for good. I have sent them you, my only son.
I don't know what that's got to do with hope, but it makes me feel hopeful. Enjoy this week's episode with Joseph Butterfield. Follow HopeWalk online. Have hope yourself. Thank you all for blowing my mind. Welcome to Please Blow My Mind with me, Will Fleming. Please blow my mind.
Whoa. That's the goal, brother.
Get joy in your lives every day.
I'm just simply looking to be 1% better every day.
I get it, man. We're together on that. That is mind-blowing.
We've got our work cut out for us.
It's the thing that inspires me to continue on.
Everything happens, and then we find a reason.
You just went deep. Sweet as. Cheers, brother.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I love the fact that normally it's in the back in the beautiful studio van.
Yeah.
You're jammed in the front because we're jammed for time. It's relevant, eh? It's like you're on the pump today. So Joseph, what's like? You got your first meeting at 7:30? Is it?
Yep. So we got our health and safety briefing, just with volunteers, just making sure that everyone knows what they're doing, just making sure we're keeping everyone safe. So it's 7:30, first one, 7:30. And then we start to put people in different places in that.
Yeah.
So when the hope walkers are walking, they can see different, there'll be different signs posted up in different places as well.
I think I came to the first HopeWalk 2 years ago. And obviously I was one of those people who had not known much about it because I haven't experienced someone close to me. What's the correct terminology? Committing suicide? Or taking...
died by suicide. Or
Right, died by suicide. So it was firstly amazing to see just the volume of people. I hadn't experienced that since rugby games or something like that, right? Since then I've been part of a few things around the community which brings people together. And I wonder if there's more of an appetite for people to, in the social media world we live in. Do you get the feeling people are wanting to be more together in real life?
Yeah, I think the human connection, because it's the face-to-face, it's the connection of coffees, and that's been lost, because it's easy to sit home and just have your own little world, live kind of a highlighted life on social media. Because social media is really just a highlight of your life, it's not real life, It's not the changing of diapers and not the stuff that hits you in the face every day.
Man, true that.
Yeah, so it's that connection, that people are looking for. And I think when you have events like this, it just brings a awareness that people can be together. And if it's in a safe environment, people can come and just be themselves, So that's why I'm enjoying just seeing a lot of these connection points, people come together. I think that's why HopeWalk in itself has been a draw card for people. They've been touched by suicide because they know in themselves it's a connection point for them.
Just something a little bit, and I don't quite know how to ask this, but I saw via your social media channels that suicide is up. And I really thought to myself, man, what the hell's going on? We are, it's a word that, we talk about mental health every day in society. There's literally resources going in. It feels like we're doing more than ever before, but is it helping? Is it not? I mean, where's your head at in terms of how do you still have hope when it seems that, we're up against this evil or something, it's we don't seem to be winning, or is that too,
and I think you look at the numbers and you think, what have we done? Have we just wasted time? But I think the fact that a lot of awareness is out there,
right?
But I think it's really just now changing our tack in terms of actual prevention. Before they found at the end of the river, in terms of their situation, what got them in the river in the first place? Looking at further ahead, what was the problems they got there, and to a place where they actually felt like there was nothing to live for. So there's a lot of things that we've done collectively around these heaps of awareness. Starting to be more. I think the stigma's starting to kind of be lowered. Right. People are starting to be more real about it. There's more conversation. Obviously, the government starts to talk about it even more. There's now a new suicide prevention office. So there's definitely awareness out there. I think now is a time where people got to take the egos off the table and put down some strategy to work together. And also making sure there's a bridge that needs to be created between what's available from a clinical point of view, then what's in the community. Because a lot of community, I see it on TV, but for them, is it real for them? Is it real for their families?
Right.
So getting to that place where they can have all the information they need to actually make, everyday conversations with their family members in there. I think, it is. I think we can be discouraged.
Right.
But that's where my hope comes from. We can't live in fear that we're not going to do anything. But the hope is that all we're trying to do is actually, in terms of our movement, is just bring people together that have been touched by suicide, but giving them a sense that, hey, you're not alone in this, but in the sense that we can actually, like we say all the time, we're stronger together, we can be strong through it. The numbers are disappointing, but at the same time, it doesn't discourage us from still bringing hope to families and also encouraging them to empower their communities, their families, their colleagues at work, and so forth.
And I guess it's also healing for the families that come, right? Like that's the bit we talk about, the people who are gone, but the people who are here in their own suffering as well.
And it's massive, for families, and they still come. And for them, it's their annual time of remembrance and time where they can reflect, because it's an environment there they feel like, hey, wait a minute, I'm not alone in this. that when I'm having a conversation with someone else, at least they get me, and they feel like they can walk away from an event and I feel like I just felt like I was judged even more, or there was no sense of hope. But our attitude is that we can actually give them that sense of healing in the process, because it is a journey, you know. This is not a destination. HopeWalk is not a destination.
Right.
It's a part of a journey. So hopefully we can add value to that journey of healing for people.
It's so interesting talking to you, bro, because, you know, I don't know if that many people have time to reflect deeply in real time about what we are up to, you know. It feels like, you know, quite often I'll say to people, oh, I'm really busy at the moment, and we're just filling our days with these things, you know, versus back in the day where asleep during the day was probably more, you know, for some countries like the Mediterranean, you know, we all love it. You know, they're tanned and they have olives and they nap and, you know, everyone smokes and they all seem to live to like 120. It just seems like maybe it's a bit of our Western world built in with a bit of our, you know, hard-working Pacifica culture. This idea you scrap for everything you get. But it feels like we can get too full up with stuff, eh?
Yeah, for sure. And I think we live lives where we're seeking approval for every step of the way.
Yes.
Like, if I do this, the expectation is that I'll be approved for it. But our value is not in what we do. Our value is in who we are. And so that's where, I guess when I look at it from a prevention point of view, that's where a lot of some of the kids that we see in the families we deal with, there's no sense of where they came from, you know. And it's a typical kind of world view that, you know, when you introduce yourself to someone and you go, hey, what do you do? And they go, oh, I'm an engineer, you know. But in actual fact, when we used to introduce ourselves back in the day, it used to be about, who's your mum and dad? You know, where do you come from? It's who you are. But now we live in a society where it's all approval. Oh, you got to be a top class. Then when parents came over to New Zealand, it was like, you either be a doctor or a lawyer. And I guess the parents found the approval that their kids will be accepted if they get a high-paying job.
Right.
But at the same time, that kind of culture has developed over years, and people now think that their approval's in what they do.
Wow.
And you miss the fact that it's not in what we do, it's who we are.
Well, even something as simple as referencing who you come from means you're not alone.
Yeah, that's right.
If you say, I'm Will and I'm a video guy, podcaster, you just isolated yourself subconsciously. So maybe that is part of these things that we look for, these, you know, magic pills and a system, and just because you can get free counselling and all these things, but actually we got to do what we always had to do to lose weight. You got to go for the walk and you got to stop eating that chocky even though it's yummy. It's like the temptation to isolate yourself is great in this world too, you know, and I feel it myself, you know, it's about my podcast and what I'm doing here and who's my next guest, instead of thinking, wow, I get to spend time with people every week, you know, and get to ask them a little bit about them. And man.
And then you become the point of difference. It's not what you do, it's who you are.
Right.
And the reason like I like coming in is because I know who you are. And it's not because of what we do or what you do, and not because you do a blog and all that stuff. It's because I've actually genuinely met you, and your heart is sincere, and you actually want to get the right messages out there. So, or I could have just been at the debrief, say that. But in reality, I have time for you. So, and that's what people don't do these days. It's like, well, you're not any significance to me. Right. You're not going to give me approval, so I'm not going to do that.
And what blows my mind, brother, and I'm on my own kind of journey as well, is if I think long term, and part of that journey is working out spiritually what's up, you know. But when you talk, I think, you know, because you run a church, eh?
Yeah, I lead a church.
And so your life is kind of about giving and about understanding, you know, this idea. I've talked about it on the podcast before. I have no way of referencing what sacrifice means. Because I was never really shown that. It was a bit like I was the youngest of all these kids. And it was like, that boy likes to eat. Good. He's the eater in the family. So it was about take and give, and a lot, you know, because for my mum, like she was so happy coming from Raro that we had a lot. And so she thought she was doing the right thing, and she kind of had. She made this person who's full of love, but in a world that's a little bit, sometimes can be cruel, I don't know what to do with my love, you know. So because I haven't had that kind of I have had the religious experience, but not like I don't actively practice. So I guess what I'm saying is, it's a long way of saying I'm still trying to work out what the hell's up with me.
Yeah.
But every day you're working these questions out, and this idea of giving and taking and the balance of that. And I feel like I'm worried society is still pushing that part of our spiritual belief away. And my question is, what are we replacing it with? And I think it's Twitter, Facebook, big brands are coming in now and telling us how we should live and what we should think, and it's just creating this world which feels extra unhappy. And I don't know how this will come across, but just bear with me for a sec. So I was thinking, if you're a believer, you believe you would go to heaven, and if you're not good, you go to hell, or something like that at its simplest level. Hell was this and is this horrible thing. So even if you're unhappy on earth, it's still better than there, or wherever that is. That gave you a reason to stay. So if you're telling people every day that there is nothing, then what's the point if you hate earth to stay here? And that's where I think, no, we've got to do something better than that. We've got to have something worse than dying on earth. You know what I mean? And so I don't quite know what to do with all those feelings, but I wonder if people come to you and ask these type of questions.
And I think all I can respond back is from my kind of worldview, and like yourself, you're on your own journey, and it's not my place to put judgment on that journey, but the thing is that I can only take it from my perspective and then my journey in terms of where I'm going. And it's one of those things where even my parents were a reflection of all the things you talk about. They was talking about sacrifice, talking about love, like your mum. There were personifications of the actual meaning of those words. So, and in terms of what we do with that, it's up to us, and how we live that out is up to us, and we got to make some bold decisions. I'm being a Christian and being a Jesus follower. It's not a religious thing. It's like out of my relationship with Christ, I live my life out to personify those values, and that's what I do. I just live it out. And the great thing is that people might say, "Hey, that's cool," And all I can do is actually go, I'm living a life that's reflecting the goodness of God, and people can go, "Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Oh yeah, that's value." So yeah, that's all I could do really. And the cool thing about it is I get to do things like today, and live that out for people and help people find a sense of hope in that journey.
I'm just going to check the time because we don't 22. Okay, so like another 3 minutes, and then you got to get out here. So run us through the day again. You got your briefing, and then what time does HopeWalk start? And for people who have never seen HopeWalk, like what is it about?
So HopeWalk is community-led. So in essence, it's community-led community walk. So all those people that are walking are touched by suicide. So every single person walks has been affected in some way. For the 685 people that were lives were taken in the last annual year, there's people behind them that were affected. And so we've created an environment for them. So we like to say it's an environment, not an event, because it's not a destination. It's part of the journey.
Cool.
So we get them to come along where they know they're not going to be judged, but at the same time they're with other people who are like-minded, not going to judge them, but also know exactly what kind of journey they're on, and in the hopes that in the walk they can start to talk and actually others start to listen. And the beauty about it is it's very simple in terms of our working, but what we see at the end of it, the outcome is actually value. People start going more embracing of each other, more value. People start making connections with each other. I know of a couple of older ladies who lost their kids who still now have cups of tea together, after 4 years when we started it. So that's great. That's great value. And those relationships would not have formed if they didn't come on a walk. So it's all around the world. So
wow. Does it ever buzz you out that it's kind of like something you I mean, that must give you hope too, that in such darkness there is some light,
and also gives me hope that in humanity itself, people around the world are feeling the same. I just want to bring my community together and cry together. We can hug, we can walk, we can talk, we can listen, and that's the beauty of it, and that we hope a healing will come, there's a sense of hope, and also they feel empowered that they can help their own friends and family.
Are you really tired after HopeWalk days?
No, I'm real buzzy. Like I'm really, really buzzy. I think I don't really until my head hits the pillow. That's when I feel it, and I go. I'll use the day to reflect, and because you're having really deep conversations with people, and I like to listen a lot to people's conversation because their story is awesome, and it's valued. So I reflect on that at the end of the day. Actually, I reflect on that the whole week, and it's just a reminder of what we do, because we could have stopped after the first year.
Yeah.
But we know there was a sense that it was bringing some hope to someone.
And do you think this is a lifelong thing for you? Like,
yeah, to be honest with you, I wish we didn't have to walk.
yeah.
That's the only reason we walk is because people have taken lives by suicide. And I
So
wish
the
we
year that you don't walk, that'll be the best year, eh?
Yeah.
When maybe everyone can just meet because...
Yeah, just to say that there's no more suicides, you know. It's heart-wrenching sometimes when you think of it. And today is going to be a very emotional day for a lot of people. So, hey, all we can do is hold them longer, cry a bit more, and also just be able to be there.
And is that what blows your mind, bro? Like at the moment, the fact that people are going to show up today, they're going to be vulnerable, they're going to share the most painful thing ever in their life.
Yeah, it is. But they're not alone. That's what gives me hope. That I don't have to go and fix anything. That together in this we can help each other.
Awesome. Right, you get to briefing. Thank you for joining me on the podcast, brother. It's always a pleasure. And hopefully we can continue this.
Yeah.
Next time I'll take you in the back with all the nice lights.
Oh,
and
nice.
everything.
The
Not
flashy
jammed
stuff.
in the front next to my...
Yeah, thanks for your time, bro.
Yeah,
I know you're busy and really do appreciate it.
Awesome.
Appreciate you, bro.
Thanks, man.
Hot mom.